What's up, guys? Sleepy Picks here. We got to find out the Bucharest Open between two guys who just won't quit out here on the clay. It's going to be a great one. Let's take a look at the semifinals recap, and then we'll take a look at the finals preview. Let's get started. And this first semifinal has to be one of the best matches of the week on the clay throughout the three tournaments. Navone able to come back from match points down to beat Zandschulp. And, the first set and a half was all Bodic. And we talked about in our preview, was he going to be able to play the same aggressive but high percentage tennis as he was in the last few matches? Because Navone, an extremely strong clay quarter. And for a set and a half, he was. And he was the one controlling the pace most of the first two sets. Has a couple of match points. Navone able to save those and win in a breaker in the second set. Then we have third set. You think we'll talk a little bit about the Marozsan Merida match because I felt like Merida really went away towards the end of that match, and you kind of felt like Bodic would go away. Having those match points in the second, and then losing the set, it's tough to rebound back. But he came back and he stuck to the game plan. He's doing the same exact things, finding the forehand, coming into net, and he goes back up a break, 3-1. And it felt like every single time Navone had his back up against the wall, he came up with his best tennis. And he's just a perfect example. If you want to see how to move really well on the clay, Navone is a great example. He was coming up with angles from so far back on the court that, just left you in awe. Passing shots, lobs, just extremely clutch hitting. Their one match point in the second set was like a 30-shot rally. And Navone just turned into a wall and was like, I'm going to force you. If you want to take this match, you can go ahead and take it, but I'm not making an error. Navone able to break back and make it 3-all. Then they exchange breaks again, and we get to 6-5. Navone able to hold at love to go up 6-5. That's a really good sign. No pressure there from Zandschulp, especially considering that in the last game, the previous game of the third set, he did have some pressure holding there. Goes up 6-5 and then gets his first match point, and Bodic is able to, Navone is able to convert that match point and win 7-5 in the third. And this really does it. Navone played really well, but at the same time, it really feels like kind of like a great escape of playing a guy that I thought this was the A game of Zandschulp. Like, he played extremely well. He was finding his aggression. He didn't let losing that set get him down, but yet he still just couldn't get over the hump of beating a true clay quarter. And Navone moves to 2-0 against Zandschulp. Let's move on to the next semifinal. Next semifinal was Merida playing Marozsan, and we talked about how I originally thought this was going to be a straightforward match, and then I kind of took it back in our semifinal breakdown. I said I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult here for Merida, and it was. But the Merida game just wears you down and wears you down. Again, he doesn't really have that big booming shot. He's got a great forehand, puts a lot of spin on it. He's able to redirect. He moves extremely well. He's got great touch on the volleys. So he does have a lot of the facets that make for a great clay quarter, but just nothing really he's not like Merida, who comes out. He's got a few of those flashy shots. This match was extremely tricky for me, and when Merida won that first set, I don't know why I keep falling into this trap, because it's the same thing. Merida drops the first set, I think the same thing. I'm like, oh, he's real. Merida looks really outmatched here. But then he just slowly kind of turns the match back into his favor, breaks to go up 4-2 in the second, holds on for a 6-3 win, and then in the final match, I mean, he's breaking Marozsan pretty easily. Like breaks him at love, and yeah, maybe a little bit from the Marozsan nerves, and Marozsan maybe getting a little fatigued from the previous matches and from earlier this match. But you gotta give Merida a lot of credit here. I mean, this is a guy that is now going on. Sorry, I want to look at his time on court. 10 hours and 50 minutes on court, and he just looks like fresh. He looks like he could go out and play again. And this is a guy that played back-to-back matches yesterday to get the wins. Back-to-back three-setters, right? Three-setter over Manarino and then a three-setter over Droguet. So I was worried about how he was going to look, but I mean, in the end of the third set, he looked like the fresher of the two. Um, I really like his game. I can't wait to see more of him in the on the European clay. I'm excited to see a little bit more. And well, we'll talk about the final in a second, because I can't get over all of these players that now have a first time chance to win an ATP level event. It's going to be Marida's first time um, to get a title. Navone hasn't won a title. Hadar hasn't won a title. Burachaga hasn't won a title. Trungeliti hasn't won a title. That's huge. Like, these guys are succeeding in on challenger level. You have Merida with 2 challengers, Navone with 9 challengers, but they haven't been able to break through here, and it's just so great to see how deep this game really is getting. This is the 136th ranked player now in the finals, taking out Marozsan. He'll play Navone. Let's talk about the finals. And here's a look at our finals between Merida and Navone, and both guys escaping per se in the semifinals, where it looked like Marozsan was playing the better tennis against Merida for about a set and a half, and Merida is able to turn that match around. And then for about almost 2 full sets, it looked like Botic was playing better tennis than Navone, and Navone able to turn that match around. Obviously, Navone, for me, that is the most impressive win this week. That match was unbelievable. I was so impressed by him to just be able to grind that out. Maybe he wasn't playing his best tennis. Botic definitely playing top-notch tennis, and Navone able to edge that one out. 1-0 head-to-head here for Navone. They met in 2022 in an M25, and Navone able to win 7-6, 4-6, 6-3. That's kind of what I'm expecting here. I think this is going to be a grinded out, last man standing type of final. This is going to be so much fun to watch, guys. Let's take a look at their clay court records here. We have Merida moving to 7-1, I believe, on the clay, and Navone, who is at 7-3 on the clay. Extremely impressive from these guys. Last year, Merida was 35-16. Navone was 30-16. Year before, 27-14 for Navone and 40-23 for Merida. I mean, these guys are almost like mirrors of each other on the clay, with their records wise. We got Merida is going on about 11 hours on the clay. Navone at 9 hours on the clay. Just both guys just grinding out these long matches. Now, both guys trying to get their first 250 win means a lot to them. I think we're going to see some nerves here. How do I see this match going? I mean, this is such a hard match to predict, and it's so funny. Like, I felt like I just published the Marrakesh final, and I really feel like I was listening to it, and I was like, I really don't feel like I gave a great breakdown, because the the levels are these guys are so close, and I felt like I was talking more confidently in the Miami Open with some of those guys. Obviously, like I'm much more familiar watching some of the top players. Van Trungelliti, who this is the first time I've seen him play. Merida, I know from the challenger levels, and Navone obviously has been dipping into some of the ATP Tour levels, but also winning at challenger level as well. But I do apologize. Like we're splitting hairs between these guys, in my opinion. And even if one match is like a 6-2 6-2 win, I still feel like if we played on another day, maybe the other guy wins. I love the defense that I saw from Navone. I don't think that he's going to be in many defensive positions, and we've seen, especially against Molcan at the beginning, Navone can take the ball early and he can take time away from you. He tried to do that against Molcan, and Molcan was able to take advantage of kind of him being inside the court a little bit too much. And then Navone went more back to the heavy spin ball. But I expect Navone to be the one on the offense a little bit more than Merida. Merida likes to kind of rally and look for the errors. If he gets an open court, he can rope the forehand with his heavy spin. He's got a lot of touch, a lot of feel. I'm gonna go with Navone to win this one. I think it's going to be a three-setter. I think it's going to be a very tough three-setter. There's going to be a lot of nerves between these guys. I'm going to go with Navone to win in 3. Two things with Merida. One, how much are the legs going to be able to hold up here in the finals? He's going to have to play probably another three-setter. This would be his 5th three-setter of the tournament if he plays this. So, can he do it? Maybe. He looked pretty fresh against Merida, but I just can't trust that. I loved what I saw from Navone. I feel like he's going to enter this final with a lot of confidence. Keep in mind that this is a guy that just won a challenger final in Cap Cana over Bellucci. Yes, that's on a hard court, but it is still a final. He was able to gut out a tough straight set win over Bellucci. I think we're going to see something very similar here. He's starting to find his legs on this clay. I got to go with Navone. He's going to win in 3 sets. Give me Navone in 3. And here's a look at our semifinal records. 2-0, really nice. We picked both of them. And, honestly, at one point in both of them, I thought we were going to go 0-2. So really nice to get both of those correct. We'll see how we do in the final. I think it's going to be a tough 3-setter. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We have a finals video preview out for the Marrakesh Open. We will have a finals preview video out for the Houston Open, but right now that is in a rain delay. We're waiting on the Tommy Paul Francis Tiafoe match to finish. Tommy Paul's up a set right now, but I believe he's down a break with that rain delay coming in, so we'll see how that match goes. So look out for that video. We also have an hour-long video on the Monte Carlo Masters preview, draw reaction, and picks. So definitely check that out to keep up on everything tennis. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.